Okay, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Kari DFS. For the DFS community, I hope you guys had a profitable last night. It was interesting. The highest scoring total that I've seen on the slates was I think 355, which was pretty good. You know, it was a lot of low value guys scoring big. Some of them, came from Milwaukee, Utah, um, Indiana. You know, Monroe was one of the guys that flew under the radar. I did not have him on my radar at all. Joe Johnson, I did not have on my radar at all. Chris Paul, he made it on my radar. So, on another lineup, I had Chris Paul. Everybody, honestly, if you paid up for LeBron was the go-to guy to get tonight or yesterday. He did his thing. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the only reason why he did his thing is simply because Kevin Love did not perform. Not saying Kevin Love had a hard matchup. He had a great matchup. I mean juicy. When I say juicy, I mean the guys that were on Kevin Love, they were too small. They couldn't really defend him, but his shots were not falling. His shots were not falling. It's not like he didn't have good looks. He had good looks. It's just his shots were not falling. He was a disappointment. I didn't expect him to go out there and flake out like he did, but it happens. It happens. One of the other guys that I got on my that flew on my radar that I picked for another lineup, Lance Stevenson. See, I already told you guys from my numbers, from my paperwork, from my cheat sheet that Indiana shooting guard should be able to do damage to Cleveland. However, that shooting guard was not Monte Ellis. I wanted it to be Monte Ellis. It was not him. It was Lance Stevenson. And I, I don't want to say Monte Ellis had a bad game. He did not really have a bad game. To me, he seemed a little bit, I don't know, too antsy, too willing to push or force the shot. I mean, his shots weren't falling. He was playing good ball. I mean, I can't say he wasn't doing good. He was doing okay. But when you cross-reference what he did in the game compared to fantasy value, it wasn't so good. It wasn't so good at all. Now, Lance Stevenson, he penetrated. He took over for Ellis at the shooting guard position. Not saying that Ellis was taken out of the game. No, that didn't happen. But Lance Stevenson took over for Ellis at the shooting guard position. Then he switched over to being a point guard to help out Teague. I mean, this guy was doing it all. I mean, he was driving, he was doing jump shots, he got fouls. I mean, he did it all. He had a great game. And to be honest with you, I expected that from him because last year I was on him heavy. I mean, there was not one lineup I didn't have with Lance. When he played, I didn't have Lance Stevenson simply because his value last year was so low that you can easily plug and play him. Easy. That was one of the guys that was on my radar. However, Joe Johnson, Greg Monroe was not on my radar. Another guy that was on my radar, and the only reason why he was on my radar was simply because I figured George Hill will be playing so much defense on him that it'll give him the opportunity to dish and go, to pick and roll, to get assists. And that was Chris Paul. And he was one of my core four guys. On my other lineups, I think I got three times my buy-in back. It wasn't like I won, the whole jackpot. No, that didn't happen. I mean, you got to understand, you're going up against sharks when you play in the GPP tournaments, and you got to be picking guys that are going to fly under the radar and perform, and that's just, But, hey, it was a good outing for me. Again, I like to say, this is a template. This is not a premium lineup that I create on my channel. This is one of those things where you need a little bit of advice, a little bit of insight. You want to know who you may be overlooking or who you may be missing from a lineup that you've already created that you think you should plug in. This is what this is. This is a different approach to GPPs and daily fantasy. This is what this is. This is not. I'm not giving you a jackpot. I mean, don't get me wrong, you might come across one. I might put up a lineup where you might be like, shit, this might just work, and play it, and you might hit for a few hundred or 1,000 or even a jackpot. You might go. But at the end of the day, that's not my goal for this channel. My goal is to bring information. I'll throw in a few value picks that I like Brogdon. Brogdon was one of them. Ellis, he didn't really perform, but he was on my radar. Love he really did flake out on us. I ain't gonna lie, he was a core pick for me, and I think he was a core pick for a lot of people. But he was a guy that flaked out. He had a good look, juicy matchup. He just couldn't. He couldn't have his shot. His shots just didn't fall. Aldridge, he was a good pick. If you had Aldridge, that was a plus. He was the one that was on my radar. I'll throw guys in there. I'll throw my core guys or my value picks in there into a lineup just to show you guys, hey, I'm not trying to just create a bullshit lineup. I'll throw some guys in there who I think will really go. Like I said in my first video, Brogdon was somebody I really did like. He's a rookie he's been doing good this year. So for you to overlook him is a mistake, So that was that. Again, like I said, if you like my video, if you like what I'm doing here, like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out. I'll be posting my 4/16/2017 NBA playoff video in an hour or so.